Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. Thank you guys so much for joining me at 8:45 every morning when the market is open. So the market is closed on Monday. So unfortunately, I will not be with you, but join me again on Tuesday at 8:45 in the morning. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the trade that I went over yesterday. So Thursday, I had mentioned that American Eagle Outfitters had some relative strength index that has stayed above the 30 on the on the RSI, and it continued to move higher. And I was mentioning that just about a 1% move higher was a gap fill, and that's what happened. American Eagle Outfitter just hit that level and then flushed out a decent amount, over 4%. I had an upside target of another 7-8% on American Eagle Outfitter. However, it decided that it wanted to get pulled back at that gap fill. So unfortunately, our trade of the day did not hit. But I'm going to go over a little bit later MongoDB. That one, had we tried to take that because I gave a level, it just blew through that and just kept going. So every once in a while, you'll have stocks that stop short, and then you'll have other ones that blow through. So let's go ahead and just get into the trade recap. So here's a chart of American Eagle Outfitters. Like I said, I'd mentioned on Thursday that you had a nice relative strength index action, and then all of a sudden, relative strength index action stayed above the 70. Good price action as well, but not enough to send the relative strength index below the 30. Then we had the close, and then it opened up. But look at this move. I guess it was about a 2.5% move higher. I was looking for $14.39. Again, that would have been like an 8-9% move higher. If you zoom out on the daily chart, this right here, it got so close to this gap fill that for me, this was already enough for people to have gotten out of this trade. However, this was a good resistance level anyways. I was actually looking for a previous move higher. Remember this low pivot right here. So 14.39 was my entry price on AEO. However, it decided to pull back before that. Now, if American Eagle Outfitters, because this is still a pretty big gap fill right here at $14.72 and this low pivot here. If AEO decides that it wants to continue to head higher and go to 14.39, I would still be interested in this if it happens within the next day or two, with the stop out at a close above $14.72. I would actually add at $14.72 with a stop out at a close above this level, because if that happens, if it closes above, then there's likely the buyers are invested and willing to push this thing to all new heights, or not all new heights, but previous or relatively certain or short-term highs. Because as you can see, it has been almost 6 months before it's broken these key resistance levels. Anyway, so let's go on to MDB. I was mentioning MDB had some relative strength index action as well, similar to American Eagle Outfitter. Look at this. MongoDB on Saturday had earnings on the 25th. Relative strength index stayed high above the 30, and it stayed all the way to 37. Here's a price action though. There was no volatility in the price action of MongoDB. I did say that it was likely to get some resistance at the $300 even number, and then additional resistance at 306. I was actually eyeing this in the day trading room as a potential short opportunity. Fortunately, we stayed away from this. The price action it didn't seem to do a whole lot. There was no volatility in the price action. There was no volatility in the relative strength index. And then this thing just kept going higher. So every once in a while, you'll get stocks like this. So MongoDB did this, and so did Dush Brothers. Every once in a while, you'll get these stocks that just continue to float higher and higher. Institutions are loving the stock. They had reported good earnings or good news. And so it just keeps pushing it higher. And that's what happened to MongoDB. So the next level of resistance that I have is actually $225. It's actually $322.42. I would actually wait until 325. It's the quarter round number. So, as as humans, we like quarters, right? So we have 25-cent piece. We have 4 quarters in a dollar. We've also got quarter time where it's on a watch and you're like, all right, so quarter past the hour. So quarters are really ingrained in our brains. And so if it gets up to $325, I think that would be a great level, especially the way the relative strength index has stayed so strong. It's likely to pop. And then because it's overextended over a couple day period, it is likely to pull back. And you could probably look for about a 3, 4, even 5% pullback, if not more. Remember, MongoDB had a 36% increase in the price on the previous earnings. So absolutely insane. All right, so here's CRDO. CRDO, this is a daily time frame chart for me. Look at this price action. I went over this a little earlier. If we get a pierce of the 70 with continued negative RSI divergence and at all-time highs, if we reach this upper trend line, we're looking at around $136 to $140. This would be a great opportunity to short, especially the way the price action is going and the relative strength index is moving. See how it gained support right here, just below the 50. But once it gets up to around the 70 and creates some negative RSI divergence, you do have some significant pullbacks. So CRDO had a 22% pullback, and now from the bottom, it's gone up 32%, and this would be another 38 to 40% move to the upside. So for me, CRDO looks like a great opportunity to short. All right, here's PSTG, Pure Storage. Full transparency, I'm actually short this trade, Pure Storage. Look at this relative strength index price action, or this action. So it did have earnings. It had some volatility going into the morning session, and then all of a sudden the relative the price action actually started to die out. The relative strength index didn't continue to move very much, just because that's what happens with the when the price action dies out, the relative strength index kind of dies out, and then you had this slow grind up. So you have this beautiful upsloping trend line that it tried to pierce at the end of the day, but then you had some short sellers cover, is what's likely happened, push the price up, actually got up to $80.69. If this goes up to $82, this would be a great opportunity to short. However, I feel based on the way the chart is, you're at all-time highs on PSTG. The daily relative strength index is above 82 and it closed high. This to me indicates that this thing is ready to fall over. I think it's likely to come back into this $73.60 level. I mean, this thing is so overextended, you guys. It's insane. All right. So now let's go ahead. I'm just going to go over Bitcoin real quick. I was mentioning Bitcoin a couple of days earlier. Continued relative strength index, negative RSI divergence. I was mentioning that if you break this upsloping trend line, you come back in, hit the 50, 40, and then come back up and retest the underbelly of this down upsloping trend line, you're likely to get a rollover. So if you're a bull on Bitcoin, what you're looking for is a break of this downsloping trend line. Relative strength index here it's pretty stable, so it's likely to break, and you can get another push to the upside. Your next upside target would be around $123 and $123,236. All right, so that's what I have for you guys. So now I'm going to go over the trade of the day. It's TCOM, TCOM. It is a Chinese company. It's a travel agency. So the relative strength index yesterday was brilliant. It stayed above the 70 for an extended period of time. The volume was pretty heavy, but the price action movement wasn't that great, which indicates that it's got to continue to move higher. And then there's a double top that I'm targeting. So let's go ahead and go into the RSI trade of the day. All right, here's the picture of TCOM, or the stock TCOM chart. Relative strength index stayed really high. You had one decent pullback, got a couple percent pullback, actually a 1% pullback. But look at the relative strength index. It stayed really high. Price action just floated higher. But if you zoom out on the daily time frame, you've got this beautiful upsloping trend line that connects this pivot high here from the 25th of November, and then another one the 20th of July, 2017. It did pierce this level at one time, and then look at this pullback. So the relative strength index created negative RSI divergence, and then look at this fall over on TCOM. So if TCOM gets up to this double top today, $77.18. That is my shortable level. TCOM shortable level is $77.18. All right, guys. So that's what I have for you this afternoon. Thank you guys again for being with me at 8:45 in the morning. If you guys like this comment or like this content, please make sure you like, subscribe, follow, ring that bell so you can get notified here every morning at 8:45 when the market is open. Please stay tuned. Gare Soloway is going to cover some exciting things that are happening in the markets, and just under 4 minutes. You don't want to miss that, and we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys take care.